Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Victoria Vignari, and I'm here to talk to you today about how WestStat is putting paradata and visualizations to work for our field interviewers. Today, I'm going to discuss, how we got to where we are with paradata and survey research, and then I'm going to demonstrate our system, and then we're going to talk about where we're going. So in 1998, Mick Cooper coins the term paradata. He also published a paper that year on measuring survey quality in computer-assisted survey information collection environment. There he discusses the importance of collecting information on the survey data process, using that data, providing feedback, analyzing and storing it in an efficient way. Between 2005 and 2010, survey research organizations really grapple with the information that he laid out. How can we collect, organize, and use this data? All of the data was coming from different databases and different sources on production, cost, and quality, and there just was no system structures in place at that time. So by 2011, WestStat and other organizations had found a solution. And at WestStat, we developed what we call the Cube that could analyze data from multiple sources, and we could easily create reports for supervisors. So we could start using some of this information in actionable ways. By 2012, WestStat had also invested in developing a multi-mode manager. So this was a system even more complex than the Cube that would really allow us to process and move data from multiple sources. And ultimately, the multi-mode manager came to replace the Cube. By 2014, Frauke Kreuter released her volume on paradata titled Improving Surveys with Paradata. It's one of the most comprehensive and practical resources on the collection and analysis of paradata. There she discusses using paradata to monitor fieldwork activity on different types of surveys in different modes, interventions, and a discussion on analysis as well. Back to WestStat, by 2015, a small team consisting of a senior manager, a field director, 2 senior IT managers, and a survey methodologist worked together in 6 months to create our first field supervisor dashboard. And the dashboard really took the same information that was in the paradata report, but added the context. It sliced and diced into a view that was appropriate for a supervisor, and we added that additional layer of visualizations, making it a really rich tool for actionable insights. So here we are today in 2020, and we're going to discuss how we moved into our how we moved into our interviewer dashboard. So what were our goals for the interviewer dashboard? Well, we've had this supervisor dashboard for a few years, and we wanted to make that same paradata, in addition to our key performance indicators, available at that field interviewer level. So some examples of that are aging cases, hours per complete, and complete counts. But most importantly, we were looking for a way to help them to create an efficient daily itinerary. So our really top producers do this naturally, without any help, just with the tools we provide. But we wanted to find out if there was a system or a tool that could help us move the middle up to the similar production levels of their top. Maybe they just need help with those organization steps. So what we looked into adding was a suggested order of working cases based on a propensity that was kind of specific to a project, providing them with suggestions for best times to contact, current case statuses, and allowing them to filter on things like zip code, addresses, those case statuses, etc. Along with that, we also wanted a mapping tool because then if they had scheduled an appointment for a day, they could easily pick out which cases were nearby that they could stop by. Just a quick visual check. And finally, we were hearing in the field that FIs were still, or that our interviewers were still taking a lot of handwritten notes, which for protecting our respondents' privacy really isn't ideal. So the more we can move that data into a secured system, the better off we'll be. So how did we do it? Well, we used that supervisor dashboard and the systems behind it as a starting point. And then we convened multiple interviewer focus groups where they really talked about that need for a system to help them efficiently work their cases. And also it became clear that was one of the biggest distinguisher between our high producers and our middle producers. They just had a better way to organize and find, and cluster and have a big list of cases that they should work on a given day. We stuck with the plan of a small development team. I think in this case, we had 3 survey operations professionals and 3 senior systems analysts. In this case, we did do prototype demonstrations, so to a larger group, and incorporated feedback from other methodologists and statisticians, as well as operations professionals at Westat. Okay, so let's take a look with what we ended up with. First, we're going to start off in just a quick glance at the field supervisor dashboard to give a little bit of background. So what you're going to see are these different sections, and each section is an area of paradata that we focus on for a given group or a region. And so here we are. So at the top, you'll see mini metrics information, just quick data you want to take a look at. On the next little section, you're going to be able to compare total hours worked, number of cases, contacts entered, so you can see if the charging information looks appropriate. And then just to give you a quick example, here's a slice just looking at a given field interviewer. So we'll have information on hours per complete, hours that they've worked on a given week, miles, and you can also see their latest activities, their latest charging, any record of contacts, etc. And this is the information, why were we keeping it to ourselves at a supervisor level? Can't we empower our interviewing staff to have access to the same information so they can begin to make decisions off of that paradata? So next, let's take a look at the new piece, this efficiency planning. So here you're going to see 3 pieces. So this is going to be your daily plan. This is going to be the list of cases in our suggested order, and then here is our mapping tool. Okay, so let's get right into it. So let's go ahead and plan an itinerary for today. So there's 2 appointments that are already kind of locked down, and that's why you see them looking like that. And they appear at the very top of our list. So next you have an option of adding cases directly from the list, which again is sorted in our suggested order. You can also click on our little drop-down arrow to see additional information, such as our suggested time for a contact, as well as you can view the contact history. But in addition to looking at it in the case list, also these sections are sortable. Okay, here we go. So in addition to looking at the case list, you can come down to the map, and you see this is one of the cases that we have on the list for today. There's another case right next to it. So you could click on that and we could add it right to our list, and it's going to show up as our 3rd stop. Now, if you wanted to move this around and actually go to this case first, you could use a little arrow to move it up. But the idea is the interviewer could plan their schedule ahead of time and then go into the field with this list. So, and you could also add other ones from the suggested ordering here. So kind of whichever way you prefer to look at it, or if you want to do a combination of both. So let's go ahead and save this list. And we're going to export it. And you notice there's some hyperlinks here. There's also, a place time to stop by, as well as a notes field. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at this PDF so we can look at some of these hyperlinks we get. And so here you're going to have the list of cases that you could work on your day. So the system does require online access, but the PDF could be taken offline, saved on a tablet desktop, or potentially even on a mobile device. And we're actually going to provide, mapping directions. Oops, let me click on that again. Oops. Where did it go on me? Okay, here we go. So we're actually going to provide mapping directions in between the two appointments. So they'll have an idea of how long it will take them to get from, their second case to the third case on their list. And I apologize for not mentioning it before. All the data we're showing you today is anonymized. It's not real project data. Although some of the criteria that we put in place, to do the suggested ordering is based off of real, a real project data. So that's a really quick overview, but let's toggle back over to our slides. Okay, so that's what we have, but as I think everyone is aware, we were planning on rolling out this dashboard this year, and almost all of Weststat's in-person data collection work was suspended. So unfortunately, we haven't had an opportunity to use this live in the field, but we do plan on doing so as soon as we have approval to begin working again. But we're already thinking about what's next. So next we want to add more data, such as their individual and team goals. How many completes are we expecting a week? How many completes for the whole region? And when they hit the goal, why aren't we giving them some kudos right off the bat? We also think we can do even more with our routing suggestions. And to do so, the basis of kind of all this system design is iterate, iterate, iterate. And part of that process is going to be using it in the field, debriefing with those staff, and then incorporating that feedback, as well as just letting different people with different perspectives look at the system. And, finally, we think we can do even more with mobile. And in one of the last briefings that we had, that was what our field interviewer staff asked for. They said, can we have this live in the field, and not something you necessarily have to do in advance. And once we test this out on one survey, we'll have the ability to add in different data sources from other surveys, update the criteria to make it specific to the paradata of interest for that survey, and launch on the survey. The great thing about the platform, and kudos to our programmers, is once we have the framework, it's really easy to adopt. It's relatively easy and low cost to adopt to other projects. So at this time, I want to thank you for joining me today, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you during the Q&A. I've also listed, our 4 authors involved. Brad Edwards is really one of our lead innovators, so I know he'll be available on our Q&A to answer any questions, along with Susan Geneversa and our program. I also wanted to mention that Weststat is getting ready to launch a information site on this platform that we develop our dashboards off of. So that's a place where you can find some additional information. So thank you so much for joining me for my very first recorded presentation, and I hope you all have a great day.